In the heart of the dense Indian forests, where the air was thick with the earthy scent of damp soil and foliage, Pushpa Raj toiled under the unforgiving sun. With unkempt hair that fell in wild tangles and muscles hardened from relentless labor, he was a formidable sight. His piercing eyes, however, reflected more than mere strength. They held a fierce determination to rise above the shackles of his past. Born to an impoverished family, Pushpa had learned from a young age that the world could be cruel, particularly to those deemed lowly or illegitimate. His mother had worked tirelessly as a laborer, scraping together meager earnings while raising him alone after his father's abandonment. The stories of that man were whispers of shame, often accompanied by the judgmental glances of neighbors who pitied and despised them in equal measure. Pushpa had vowed early on that he would never allow his circumstances to define him. Yet as he swung his axe into the thick bark of a sandalwood tree, he realized the forest, while a sanctuary, was also a prison, a cage that kept him chained to poverty. Despite his hard work and natural talent, Pushpa was often looked down upon by others, especially by Shikavat Singh, a wealthy contractor who ruled the forest with an iron fist. Shikavat thrived on exploiting the local villagers, orchestrating a network of illegal sandalwood smuggling that fed his insatiable greed. The villagers, trapped in a cycle of despair, found themselves powerless against his charm and coercion. Pushpa watched in quiet fury as Shikavat manipulated those around him, taking advantage of their desperation and fear. One fateful afternoon, Pushpa witnessed a confrontation between Shikavat's thugs and a fellow laborer, a wiry man named Ramesh. As Ramesh stood up against Shikavat's men for their unfair wages, he was met with violence. Pushpa's blood boiled as he recognized the fear in Ramesh's eyes. Unable to contain his anger any longer, he intervened. "Leave him alone, you cowards!" he shouted, stepping forward, his voice echoing through the trees. Shikavat's men paused, and for a moment, the forest held its breath. With a dismissive chuckle, one of the thugs replied, "What will you do, laborer? You think your strength means anything against us?" But Pushpa's resolve was unshakable. "I might be just a laborer, but I refuse to let you bully my people." The scuffle that ensued was brutal. Pushpa fought with a ferocity that surprised even him. He was used to the physicality of labor, but this was different. It was a fight for dignity. When the dust settled, Pushpa stood victorious, panting and bloodied, while the thugs retreated, nursing their bruised egos. The villagers watched in awe, admiration igniting a spark of hope that had long been extinguished. Pushpa's defiance against Shikavat's men had marked the beginning of his journey towards something greater. Yet as he walked away from the scene, exhilarated yet exhausted, he found solace in the presence of Srivalli, the village schoolteacher. With her kind heart and sharp intellect, she had always seen the potential in Pushpa, encouraging him even when the world sought to bury him in despair. That evening, Srivalli approached him, her gentle demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos he had just endured. "You shouldn't have put yourself in danger like that, Pushpa. Shikavat is not someone to cross lightly," she admonished softly, tending to his wounds. "Someone has to stand up to him," Pushpa replied, looking deep into her eyes. "We can't live like this forever." Her touch was healing, and in that moment, he felt a rush of emotions that went beyond mere attraction. There was a connection, a silent understanding of each other's struggles. Srivalli believed in him, and her faith became a driving force in his heart. Days turned into weeks as Pushpa continued his labor in the forests. However, the clash with Shikavat had awakened something within him, a burning ambition to break free from the chains of his past. He began to leverage his knowledge of the forest, seeking ways to turn his situation to his advantage. Whispered conversations amongst the villagers revealed the grim reality of their lives under Shikavat's rule. Pushpa decided it was time to play a dangerous game. He approached Shikavat's operations under the guise of a loyal worker, quietly gathering information about the smuggling routes and the weaknesses in Shikavat's defenses. With each day, he became more entrenched in the underbelly of the illegal sandalwood trade, all while remaining vigilant, knowing that trust was a currency in this treacherous world. However, as he rose in ranks, Shikavat sensed a disturbance in his empire. Pushpa's growing influence among the villagers became a thorn in his side, prompting Shikavat to retaliate. His men began sabotaging Pushpa's efforts, spreading lies about him and attempting to isolate him from the support of his peers. But Pushpa was not easily intimidated. He drew strength from his mother's sacrifices and the love that blossomed with Srivalli. Their connection deepened, even as Srivalli urged him to abandon the perilous path he was treading. "You're becoming someone I barely recognize, Pushpa," she confessed one night, worry etched on her face. "This life is dangerous." "Dangerous, yes. But it's the only way I can protect our people. I won't let Shikavat destroy us," he replied, determination hardening his resolve. As the stakes escalated, Pushpa uncovered a shocking truth that would change everything. Through a network of informants, he learned that Shikavat had been involved in his father's mysterious disappearance years ago. It was Shikavat who had coerced his father into abandoning their family, ensuring that the local populace remained weak and subservient. This revelation fueled Pushpa's rebellion. It was no longer just about survival, it was about vengeance. Emboldened by his newfound purpose, Pushpa orchestrated a daring heist that would turn the tides. Gathering a few trusted allies, he planned to transport a significant load of red sandalwood under Shikavat's very nose. The heist was a masterclass in cunning. Pushpa used his intimate knowledge of the forest to outsmart Shikavat's men, slipping through their defenses like a shadow. Under the cover of darkness, they moved swiftly, their hearts racing as they loaded the precious wood onto makeshift carts. The thrill of rebellion surged through Pushpa. This was more than just a business transaction. It was a declaration of war. As they completed the operation, the weight of their actions settled over them, but exhilaration replaced fear. The aftermath of the heist was electric. The villagers, once oppressed and fearful, began to rally behind Pushpa. They saw him as a leader, one who could change their fate. News of Pushpa's daring act reached Shikavat, igniting a fury within him. He vowed revenge, promising to destroy Pushpa and anyone who dared to stand with him. The confrontation was inevitable. Pushpa stood tall, ready to face Shikavat, whose power had grown like a dark cloud over the village. As they met in the clearing of the forest, tension crackled in the air. Shikavat's eyes burned with malice, his tone laced with contempt. "You think you can challenge me? You're just a laborer playing at being a king." Pushpa stepped forward, unflinching. "No, Shikavat. I am a man who stands for his people. You may have money and power, but I have something you can never take: the will to fight for what's right." What followed was a brutal clash of wills, a physical fight that echoed through the forest. It was a battle not just for dominance, but for the souls of the villagers who had suffered under Shikavat's reign. As Pushpa fought, memories of his mother's struggles and Srivalli's gentle encouragement fueled his strength. When the dust settled, Pushpa emerged battered, but victorious, Shikavat humiliated and retreating into the shadows. The villagers erupted into cheers, rallying around Pushpa, who had become their symbol of hope. Yet victory came with consequences. As Pushpa stood among them, he felt the weight of newfound responsibility settle on his shoulders. The forest was no longer just a backdrop to his struggles. It was a battlefield fraught with danger and uncertainty. As the villagers celebrated their newfound freedom, a sense of foreboding loomed in the air. Shikavat was not a man to be underestimated, and Pushpa knew that this was just the beginning of a larger fight. As he gazed into the forest, a shadow fell over him. A mysterious figure appeared, hinting at deeper ties to his past and even greater challenges ahead. As the sun set behind the trees, Pushpa Raj stood resolute, ready to face whatever storms lay ahead. His journey was far from over. It had merely begun. With the fierce spirit of rebellion ignited within him, he was determined to carve his destiny, not just for himself, but for every villager who dared to dream of a brighter future.